Wow. Bob Arum, Terence Crawford. He's Bob Arum of Top Rank, former promoter of Terence Crawford, finally admits that Bud Crawford was with Daniel Kinahan. What does this mean now? That's what I want to discuss right here in this video. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Come in, SLC. Subscribe, like, and comment. And hopefully you guys can all just get the hint and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. It really helps me pass the message on. A ton of people want to hear about boxing. This is your one-stop shop. And when you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, these engagement signs go a long way. Show YouTube that the message needs to be furthered to a broader audience. Now, I had to make a video because this is really a follow-up video. And again, if you guys subscribe to my channel, you would know that. So I made a past video. Showtime, head of Showtime Sports, Stephen Espinoza, did an interview where this was the week, I believe, of Errol Spence UGAS fight. So it's earlier this year, but just to give you guys an idea of the time frame, it was the week of Errol Spence versus UGAS, just so you guys have that in your head. So they're saying they're in negotiations now. This was before that, and I'll get to that in a second. But in my previous video, I showed the clip, which I'll also show you in this as a refresher, where Stephen Espinoza, he said they want to make the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight. I'm just paraphrasing, but he cannot be in cahoots or work with Daniel Kinahan, because if you guys know, Daniel Kinahan is a reported nefarious crime boss from over there in Ireland, and he's wanted by Garda, which is the FBI equivalent. He's represented some combat sports people, boxers, Tyson Fury, and before Terence Crawford's name was rumored to be like, everybody was printing it. Like, you seen ESPN, people were printing it. Crawford never like really said much about it. But Bob Arum just did a new interview with Barbershop Conversations. And you guys, I'll put the link to the stuff in the description box so you guys can see. And I always cite my sources so you guys can see. But Bob Arum did a fresh interview, and he finally admits that Terence Crawford at least was actually signed with Daniel Kinahan as an advisor. I got so much to say about that, but just let me give you a refresher on some of the things in the past. You guys got to buckle up, subscribe to the channel so we can divulge and, just really get this stuff out in the open. Roll the clip.
Man.
Hey, great night, man. Great night. I'm exhausted. I didn't even fight.
I know. We'll talk about tonight's fight. What did you see in Errol Spence? Do you think he's all the way back from, the...
I mean, look, right now, that narrative's got to stop because he walked through the fire. He fought a guy, one of the toughest.
So this is my Bay Area Brody, Town Business. Link will be in the description to his channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to him. Interviewing Showtime Stephen Espinoza the night of Errol Spence UGAS, as I mentioned. So the burning question even back then was about Terence Crawford. Let me see if I can get to the spot.
In the welterweight division that could have done tonight what Errol did to UGAS.
Okay, Stephen, let's just cut to the chase. He called out Terence Crawford. What do we need to do to try to get that fight made next?
Well, people got to be realistic about money. I mean, that's the only obstacle at this point. I mean, as long as we don't have a Daniel Kinahan involved, which that's a deal breaker.
Oh, right. Y'all heard it? He says, my boy Town Business asked a great question. He says, what do we need to do to get this fight cracking? Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford. And the first thing he said was, he says that people have to be realistic with money, which I don't know. It sounds like money might be a hang up right now, but that's the first thing he said. Then right after he says, and he can't be involved with Daniel Kinahan because that would be a deal breaker. Listen,
I mean, that's the only obstacle at this point. I mean, long as we don't have a Daniel Kinahan involved, which that's a deal breaker. So if there's no Daniel Kinahan, there's no MTK, there's no associate in, then we're good to go.
He says there's no Daniel Kinahan, no MTK Global, or none of that affiliation to that, then we're good to go outside of the money.
Make a reasonable business deal, a fair business deal, then it can happen. Do you want to be unreasonable? You want to involve the Kinahans? It's not going to happen.
If people want to involve the Kinahans, it's not going to happen.
Do you want to be unreasonable? You want to involve the Kinahans? It's not going to happen.
Okay, Stephen, one last question.
Wow. So again, I always cover my bases in this boxing game. Now, the reason I'm bringing up from Errol Spence UGAS fight week, because again, this was earlier this year, whenever they fought, April, May, when Errol Spence fought UGAS. And these are the business decisions that Terence Crawford has made. And people wonder why we couldn't have got this fight a lot sooner. And I told you, a lot of it, in my opinion, boils down to the decisions that Terence Crawford made. You guys just heard from Steven Espinoza, head of Showtime. And he says explicitly, if the Kinahans are involved, if Daniel Kinahan is involved, that's an automatic deal breaker. So that can't be part of the equation. Now, I don't know what Terence Crawford's current situation is, full disclosure. But Bob Arum is on record, and you could go to the link in the description with an interview that just came out today, admitting that Terence Crawford was signed with Daniel Kinahan. And if you listen to it, Bob Arum, you could say he's trying to hate on the fight because Crawford's no longer with him, whatever. But he's spilling the beans, and he admits that Daniel Kinahan financed some fights. He said none of Tyson Fury's fights. He says, we wrote checks out to Terence Crawford, and if that's his advisor, so we don't know what he did beyond that. Now you guys can see that this is potential murky, cloudy areas, all based on kind of decisions that Terence Crawford made. So like we seen Terence, I made videos a long time ago. We seen Terence Crawford going to Dubai, and that's the home base of Daniel Kinahan. And then of course, full disclosure, Terence Crawford did not know the US Treasury and basically the FBI and the government was going to put sanctions on Daniel Kinahan. But this is why you got to do your research, because all the stories about DK and the Kinahans and stuff were floating around well before. And most people that I seen thought the most reasonable thing for Crawford to do would be to try to conduct business with the PBC. And I told you, Crawford as a fighter is very stubborn, which works to his benefit. So far, so good. He's undefeated. But he also seems to do that as a businessman. And in some of these situations, it hurts you if you go against the grain. So now we might be at an impasse with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, especially with Bob Arum doing this interview and putting it on blast that Terence Crawford at least was with Daniel Kinahan. So now that the U.S. Treasury has sanctions, nobody, even MTK Global, their website is closed. They can't be in business. Like all their stuff, you can't have their logos on because it's just kind of like a RICO law. If you are in concert with somebody who has sanctions on them, then you too can be complicit. They could start looking at your stuff. And so nobody wants to be involved with that. So I understand Showtime, owned by CBS, they told you straight up, it's a deal breaker. We can't, that's the only deal breaker is if he's working with them. But again, these are the business decisions that Terence Crawford has made. Hopefully he has split ties from the whole MTK and Daniel Kinahan situation. But it just makes me wonder almost what was Crawford thinking to even have done that when he was with Top Rank for 10, 11 years, so basically a decade. And the easiest option seemed to probably go check out PBC, who you now have to try to work with to get the Errol Spence fight. And a lot of people blamed Errol Spence and said he was the culprit and he was the reason the fight wasn't happening. But just simple moves like this, in my opinion, have created added complexities that wouldn't have been there, because nobody's going to get their hands dirty with this MTK Global Kinahan stuff when the U.S. has sanctioned them. That's why I had to play the clip at the beginning. I don't get on here and bump my gums and tell a bunch of lies. So I don't know if Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford will happen. Hopefully it is done and they're just waiting or something like that. But again, these are all decisions that Crawford made, and I think it could have been smoother sailing. And now you got, like I said, Bob Arum. You have him spilling the beans in recent interviews, admitting what we already knew, what the rumors were suggesting. It's just Bob Arum's coming out that Terence Crawford at least was working with Daniel Kinahan, which I think has created way more complexities than it would probably be worth. Instead of just do your contract with Top Rank, finish that out, or not have signed the extension, and then just probably looked at PBC. But, you know, Bud's going to bud, and Bud's going to do what he wants to do. Let me know what you guys think. Will the fight happen? A lot of people aren't sold. Some people think it's 50-50. I don't know. I don't really care. I'll give you guys the news either way, whether it happens or not. And I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a Super Thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super Thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super Thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We work.